Now, this build is very interesting because I've always I've really wanted to make a DPR build involving sidekicks because it seems like a very interesting concept to me, and because you get to work with so many different stat blocks as an option for sidekick, the options are potentially very interesting. Now, there's nothing that technically is against multi-classing with the sidekick builds, so we're gonna have a bit of fun here. So we're going to quickly go over some of the most interesting build options for this. One is the Dolgrim. The Dolgrim gets 3 attacks, which at the CR that we have as an options available to us, which I believe is 1/4 or lower, you don't often get 3 attacks. And the more attacks we can deal, the more like the bonuses we have static can just reapply, so we really won't like that. So that's good. But then we have the Needle Spawn, which does a D6 attacks, which on average is going to be 3.5, which is higher than the Dolgrim. So we're gonna look at that. There's the Darkling / Death's Head, which deals an additional 2d6 damage on hit, which is the thing about this is it's fine. The issue is like we want something ideally with a weapon that we can apply more bonuses, because we do get feats as an option. So it's an option. Then there is the Gnome Squidling. Oh my gosh, this is fun. It has some problems. It has a lot of problems, actually, but it's fun, and I'm going to show you why in a second. Giant Wasp, 3d6 poison on fail save, so, a little better than potentially better than the 2d6 on hit. Piercer, oh my gosh, this is so fun. So its attack is it drops, and for each 10 feet, it deals an extra d6 damage, right? So you're essentially you're potentially dealing 66 damage per drop, and it's literally just as many times as we can drop and how much we can abuse movement, which is going to be fun. Pixies get spells in their arsenal, which is interesting. We'll talk about that. Then there's the Hobgoblin. They get to apply extra damage on one of their hits, and then they have basically any weapon they can use for their attacks, which is good for what we want to do. And then there's the Cobalt Inventor. They have a bunch of crazy options, and we're going to talk about kind of how these can be sort of abused. And then the Shifter, which they can attack as a bonus action. Let's just get out of the way. Pixie Dinosaur, right? You don't even need to look at the sidekick stats to do this, because Polymorph doesn't incorporate anything in this, right? So for one attack is 4d12 plus 7, and then another is 3d8 plus 7, which is 54 damage total. So that is the number to beat. Can we do better than a creature that adds on nothing at all, right? So that is going to be our challenge. Now let's look at the Needle Spawn. For this, we're just going to go 20 levels into the caster option, because at this point we can get up to 5th level spells because of the full caster for the sidekick is a half caster. And we can choose a number of different classes, so we can just choose wizard or cleric and get shroud. Needle Spawn, so the needle attack is ranged, so sharpshooter, and then you can add on something like gunner to do within 5 feet, and we're dealing d6 attacks is going to be 3.5 attacks on average, so we're going to just multiply the whole thing by 3.5, so d6 plus 5 because, okay, even if we don't start with that, we're going to have stats to boost it, right? So eventually we can boost up our stats to plus 5 as a bonus. We have Sharpshooter, which is going to be plus 10. And then we have 2d8 from Shroud, which, because we're making 3.5 attacks, it's going to be 96 damage total, which is really nice. That's almost twice as much as the T-Rex. So it proves we can get pretty high. A lot lower than our normal builds, but hey, it's Sidekick. It's a bit limited. This next one gets crazy. Piercer. Oh, gosh, I spent a long time trying to theorycraft this. Now, you have to go 6 into Fighter to get the extra tech, the Warrior Sidekick one, right? So to get the extra tech feature. So we'll need that to make more than 1 text as a Piercer. Now, remember, so jump distance is 3 plus your modifier, which we can boost to 5. So it's just going to be 8. If we go and start going to Spellcaster, we can get the jump spell, which is going to boost our jump to 24 feet. Now, because we're also Spellcaster and we're not using bonus action, we can Misty Step up. So it's going to be 24 plus 30 from bonus action Misty, which is 54, so we can get that high. We're going to drop, so it's going to be per 10 feet, so it's going to be 54. It's going to be 50, so it's going to be 5d6, and then plus 10 Long Strider to get running start from haste. So that's going to be, so now we're going to have 3 attacks from that. So essentially the next time we jump, we can get 20 up because we're just using our jump distance, right? And then, so we're just going to follow 2d6 and then plus 5, and then 2d6 again from our haste action, which is just going to be 47. But the thing is, this doesn't really work because even with haste and Long Strider, our movement speed is a basis plus is just 5, so we actually don't have enough movement to jump this much. So if we go 2 into the Expert, which is like a rogue support subclass, we get, for Sidekick, we get 2 dash as a bonus. So, and then we can go 6 into Fighter, 2 into Expert, and then 12 into our Caster. We're going to lose Misty Step because we're going to use our bonus dash, obviously. But we're going to have 45 feet of movement. But if we go 6 Fighter and 14 Spellcaster, we can get 4th level Echelon Stride, but it's still 45 feet. Unless we dash as a bonus, which now we can't do because we want 4th level spells. But what if we cast Fly? We move 60 feet and then 30 feet from Misty Step. So it's going to be 66 plus 5 damage for the first attack. And then for the second, it's just going to be 3d6 plus 5. So it's 42, which is solid. Or we can use our bonus action to dash and then just fly 120 feet and deal 6 plus 5 plus 66 plus 5 for 52 damage. Final option here, we take the mobile feet, we take Long Strider, and we take Athlete, so we're going to have 25 feet as a base. We take Haste, it's 50 feet. We climb onto our enemy. We leap up 30 feet. We do this 3 times. We dash. Hold on. Dash as our haste action, and we have the charger feat, so we can make an attack as our bonus action with additional damage. And because we dashed twice, because we dashed without losing our bonus action, we have, that's 50 feet, remember, from haste, so now it's 100 feet, and now we have 100 feet, so it's going to be enough to do our jumps, and that's going to be plus 5 damage for the charger, so it's going to be 3d6 plus 10, and then the second attack is going to be 3d6 plus 5, and then the final bonus is, so we have 2 attacks as our action, then the haste action is going to be the dash, and then we get the bonus, it's going to be 3d6 plus 5 again, which is 52 damage. Now, this is just as good as the T-Rex, but it's a lot funner. This build is absurd, but it's great. Now, there's another really absurd build, but I just kind of took a lot of liberties on it, so bear with me here. So, Kobold Inventor, 6 Warrior, 14 Caster. So, this, because we're 14, we're 13 half cast, right? So we get 4th level spells, which means if there's 2 enemies, we can cast Tasha's Caustic Brew and deal 8d4 per target, which is going to be an average of 40 damage for 2 enemies. Now the thing is, pretty much half the Kobold Inventors summon swarms, which deal 46 damage, right? So we're spending one of our attacks each turn summoning swarm, and each turn there's a 50% chance of them disappearing, right? So it's essentially like we're just gonna say like one of our attacks is gonna be dealing the 46, right? And our normal other attack in the turn is just because we have extra attack now, is just a D 6 plus 5 and then plus 10 because we get on because it just says weapon attack for the Kobold. We can basically use any weapon, so we can get crossbow expert on them and sharpshooter, so we can make an attack. And again, with a hand crossbow as a bonus, so it's going to be a d6 plus 5 plus 10 from sharpshooter, and then we can do gift of chromatic, so it's going to be a d4 more, and then we do that twice. So all this together is going to be 96 damage, which again is basically where we're at with our needle spawn, which is really nice. So now we go to the giant wasp. Now, so what we're gonna do here is there's not a ton that can help us with spellcaster, because we're not making that many attacks. So what I would do here is 6 warrior for extra attack, 8 expert, and then 6 spellcaster. Now what this is gonna do is our base attack is going to be 6 plus 5 plus 3d6 points. We make this attack twice. Now, as an expert, we get this fun little ability where we can, if we help as a bonus, we get to deal extra damage. So it reads Coordinated Strike. Whenever we use our helpful feature, which is essentially, we get as a first level, we can take the helpless action as a bonus action. Whenever we use this feature to aid in allies attacking, we can deal an extra 2d6 the next time we hit an attack before the end of the next turn. So it's like a mini sneak attack. So that's where the extra damage comes from. And then remember, we are 6th level spellcaster, so we're gonna have so it's half caster, so a 5th level you get 2nd level spells, so it's gonna be against 2 targets with 40 for each. Is with Tasha is gonna be 20 extra damage, or so 65 damage, or if the enemy succeeds on their poison, it's only 55. If we instead do 6 warrior and 14 spellcaster and we use haste instead, that's going to be 57 damage on failure, or 40 on success, which is not as much. Now, the gnome squid thing, this one's fun. We're going to take 6 extra attack, so we get to deal 2 attacks. Now, essentially, okay, so with the gnome squid thing, they have a terrible hit bonus, and their DC on the normal effect is 7. I don't know if it's like, it should technically improve as we improve our ability scores, but if it doesn't, let's say we have to find another way to incapacitate them, because their effect that deals a lot of damage comes from incapacitating. So let's say their concentration is used up doing that. Hold person or whatever, we're going to spend it on, well, that would crit, so we can't afford to do that, but we're using a concentration to do that, incapacitate them. So we're doing 2 damage. I mean, we're attacking twice, so we're going to have to go into spellcaster for the rest. And then we are attacking twice, and against the incapacitated target, we deal 5 d8 plus our mod. So it's going to be 5d8 plus 5 for both, which is 76 damage total for both. Now, considering that we're not using spells double damage, and I mean, again, this is wonky because of how it works, but that's like some nice solid damage there. But it is a win more effect. Now there is the Jukuli. This is just essentially they deal extra damage if they jump when they attack. So it's going to be 2d6 as base plus 5, and then plus 2d6 from the springing, and then since if we go 3 into, if we go, we actually, they already make 2 attacks, so then we can just haste them by going 12 in Spellcaster and then deal 2d6, and then, well, 8 into Warrior, so we can get 2 attack space, because I actually believe that we need that. So, but it only comes out at 57 damage, so it's not what we want. So essentially, what does that leave us with? Well, there is the shifter, which they get to make a bite attack as a bonus. And their bite attack is just just D4 plus their mod. But we're going to go full spellcaster. Now, what we can do is we can go Warlock. Warlock is an option here. So what we can do is we can grab Shroud, we can get Eldritch Blast, and while we can't get like Agonizing Blast or anything, we deal a D10 plus 2d6 Shroud. We attack 4 times, and then spellcasters, they get this ability where potent cantrips, it adds its spellcasting modifier to the damage it deals with any cantrip. So it's going to be another 5 damage, and then we make a bite attack as a bonus, so it's a d4 plus 5 plus 2d8, which is 80 damage. This is solid. It's surprisingly low, considering like some of the best builds we made on, you know, but the things we can't really get bonus action spells, so it's a lot more limiting. Now, though, the most ones are just the humanoid ones that we can do any sort of any weapon with. So Hobgoblin is one. So it deals 2d6 damage on attacks from martial weapons using a weapon, and they're a humanoid, so they have all weapon proficiencies from the warrior effect. So we're going to go 8 warrior and 12 spellcaster. This is split for optimal ASIs. So we're going to take haste, we're going to take great weapon master, we're going to take chromatic, we're going to take polar arms, we get a bonus action, so we're going to make 2 normal attacks, then a haste attack, and then a bonus action, which is d4. So it's going to be 1d10, and then except for the d4, which is the bonus, plus 5, plus 10 from Great Weapon Master, plus 2d6 on each of them, because Hobgoblin, plus d4 plus chromatic times 4, which is 117 damage, which isn't bad. Like, I think on our like or like comparisons between the average base classes that subclasses don't add anything to them, like with the Ranger, I think like 120 is our average, so we got that high with this, which is nice. And then it's very similar with the Dolgrim. So in this one we go 20 spellcaster, and they make 3 attacks from their own multi-attack, so we don't need to like go anything else and do that. We can take Crossbow Expert, 20 spellcasters, we do Spirit Shroud, go for Chromatic, and then Sharpshooter, so it's going to be we're making 4 attacks because the Crossbow Expert is bonus, so it's a d6 plus 5 plus 10 plus d4 from Chromatic plus 2d8, which is 120 total. I'd say probably the most discouraging thing in these builds is that the more we build it just like a normal class, the better it is. I was really hoping like we could get the Piercer to something really broken, and we got close there. Honestly, I'm very happy with the results, just because this is like, it's a very kind of breath of fresh air in terms of just customization and sort of the options you have with these builds. I personally found this very very sort of interesting, and I think, well, you know, you don't always get the sidekicks in your D&D games. If you do, look for hobgoblins, look for piercers, look for Dulgrims, look for needle spawns, and you're gonna have a good time. So, this is Sean from Dungeon, signing off.